Welcome to Temple Builders Carpentry. Temple Builders. We problem solvers. Temple Builders safety first. Okay, Temple Builders, today we talking about carpentry and trees, okay? Now, before we do that, I want to say thank you to my first 1,000 subscribers, okay? I really appreciate y'all's support. And secondly, if you want to contribute to expanding TBC or Temple Builders brand, you can go down in the description box and contribute to my Cash App, okay? Now, let's get back to our daily program, all right? Now, look right here. We talking about carpentry and trees, okay? Now, this ain't gonna be boring, okay? This actually was a interesting topic to me once I started studying it, okay? Now, it can go into different disciplines as well. You know, we carpenters, but studying trees, you're gonna transition into a discipline, maybe a botanist or either an arborist, okay? Now, we know that we dealing with wood, all right? Now, we understand that wood comes from what? Trees, all right? So it's going to be very helpful once you get deep into this knowledge of carpentry to know about your different species of trees, okay? Let's say, what if you had a customer that wanted some oak floors or some cherry floors, okay? Them are different species, okay? Hardwood floors, right? What if you had to go to your home improvement center and get some red cedar for a private fence? So you got to know all about this. And also, to get real deep into it, you have to know how to look at your grain and identify your species of wood, okay? So let's start right here. Let's start giving you some education on these trees, okay? Now, lumber is referred to by the same name as the tree it is produced from, okay? We understand that, right? For example, Douglas fir. This is a picture that I drew of a Douglas fir tree, okay? Now, Douglas fir lumber is produced from a Douglas fir tree. You see how simple that is? Douglas fir lumber is produced from a Douglas fir tree, you know? Douglas fir will be dealing with softwood species, right? And so we use that a lot in framing, okay? But let me continue on, okay? Now, Douglas fir lumber is produced from a Douglas fir tree, and walnut lumber is produced from a walnut tree, okay? Trees and lumber are divided into two main classes or categories, but it says classes, okay? Now, this what makes it simple for me, and these two main classes is softwood and hardwood, okay? Now, these terms, softwood and hardwood, can be confusing since certain softwood lumber is physically harder than some hardwood lumber, if you understand that, right? So in general, however, hardwoods are more dense and harder than softwood. Now, let me explain that a little bit. Okay, so you might have some softwood species that'll be harder than a hardwood species. However, but in general and overall, okay, we can call softwoods and hardwoods hardwood, and generally softwood is gonna be softer, okay? Now let's talk about this Douglas fir right here. Now I got my picture. These are two pine cones, okay? Now when you see a tree like this, a Douglas fir, you see with these trees, it's like the devil is in the details. You gotta identify the details. These needles and these cones, these type of trees are called conifers, or softwood lumber comes from evergreen trees, okay? Softwood lumber comes from evergreen trees. These type of trees right here that you see outside with these needles and these pine cones are considered to be evergreen trees. They keep their leaves throughout the year, okay? Unlike deciduous trees. See right here, I'm pointing right here, this is a red oak. You see the difference, see how broad the leaves are? Okay, and also this oak, to identify as an oak, oaks always bear these acorns, okay? So those are the two types of classes that we have. Deciduous trees that sheds its leaves in the autumn, right, or the fall, and we got evergreens, or what's also called conifers. How you can remember that? This is word right here. See, you got that cone on there, conifers, identifying cones and needles. All right, let's talk about a few species of softwoods. Okay, I got them listed right here. You got Douglas fir, white pine, ponderosa pine, sugar pine, southern pine, hemlock, spruce, cypress, redwood, and western red cedar. Now, these two right here, redwood and western red cedar, they are more decay resistant than all these other softwoods right here. So that's why these two right here are used for your private fences. Okay, when you go to get a private fence, you'll get these either red cedar or red wood because of the decay resistant properties of the wood. And you can use that also for your siding. On the outside of your siding, you use it for decks. Okay, it's naturally decay resistant as opposed to pressure treated lumber. Okay, that gets done mechanically. You know, you gotta put the chemicals in it and all that. Now, let's come over here to our let's come over here and look at our hardwood. Okay, now these are our deciduous trees. Okay, and like I was talking about how broad the leaves is, and plus they fall in the fall time or in the autumn. Now, hardwood lumbers comes from broad-leaved deciduous trees, which lose their leaves in the fall. Now, I got a couple species of hardwood trees over here. We got oak, we got poplar, we got yellow poplar, we got gum, we got basswood, butternut, chestnut, elm, maple, mahogany, walnut, birch, white ash, and beech. Okay. Now, let me talk for a minute about these conifers again. Now, look right here. Now, this is a branch off a tree that I got locally. Now, what I would advise you to do is get a book about trees in your area or in your state. Okay. Now, if you look at it, first I want to look at this drawing of this Douglas fir. If you look at it, the needles come off singly. You see how I got a drawing with a single needle comes off like that. And usually with Douglas fir, the needles would be flat when you roll them between your fingers. Okay? And these are these distinguishing or identifying marks. This right here is the branch come off a pine. And particularly is a long leaf pine. Now, how you can identify pines is, if you look right here, the needles are in bunches. These needles are in bunches of 3. Let me take it off. Here you go right here. You see how this needle, look at these bunches. It comes in bunches of 3. That's how you can identify pine trees, particularly white pine. White pine comes in bunches of 5. Now, a lot of these pine trees is something interesting, not to get off topic. They are actually edible. However, there are some pine trees that are not edible, like your yew pine and ponderosa pine, lodgepole pine are not edible. They're actually poisonous. But this is a long leaf pine. I have not read anything about long leaf pine being poisonous. Long leaf pines are edible. Okay, so also this long leaf pine is used for construction. Okay, well, another way I can identify these trees. See, once you get deep into the knowledge, you know, I do stuff as I'm traveling around my area. I identify trees, okay, to help me better understand my craft. Now look right here. You see how the branch comes off right here and it's scaly. I don't have no needles right here. This is also an identifying mark. Look right here. The needles are in what they call a tuft, T-U-F-T, a tuft of needles. Okay, it's not running all the way down my branch as opposed to this Douglas fir. Just identifying marks you can look at when identifying trees. You also got spruce. Spruce needles should spin in your fingertips. Okay. However, let me continue on. Let's talk about the trunk of the tree. I also want to make known that most of your lumber comes from softwood. About 75% of your lumber that we use in construction comes from softwood. About 25% comes from hardwood. Okay, now let's look at the anatomy of our tree trunk, because the tree trunk is where the majority of our wood comes from. Okay, now what we're doing is better understanding the nature of our tree. Okay, if we understand the nature of something, we can better predict the mechanics. Now, let's look at our cross section right here. Okay, so where we started from, right here on the outside, this is our bark. Okay, this is our bark right here. You know, the outside bark is used for protection. The tree is using the outside bark for protection. We got the outside bark, and then we got the inside bark. Now, as we go right here, this is our sapwood. Okay, now the sapwood is the growing portion of the tree. Food is stored and absorbed in the sapwood. Okay, right here, which is about 1.5 to 6 inches. Okay, it can be anywhere between that. Now, as we pass the sapwood, we get to our, excuse me, hold up. I passed a key area. I went straight from the bark to the sapwood, but in between the bark and the sapwood is your cambium layer. Okay, now your cambium layer creates new cells. Okay, new cells are formed in your cambium layer. So also I want to make mention, you know, that's why I was talking about before about how these trees, the discipline of these trees, it transition over into another discipline. Like I was talking about an arborist. You start to study these trees. The cambium layer in pines, in many pines, is edible. Okay, Native Americans would use these trees for food. The pine trees, you can make pine needle tea. Okay, you can use the sap for medicinal purposes. Okay, the sap or the pitch, it also can be used for glue. Okay, it's just so many different applications with a pine tree, particularly a white pine. But I was letting you know that also there are some poisonous pine. I already said that. But let's continue on. The cambium layer is going to create new bark cells, and it's also going to create new sapwood. Okay, let's continue on right here. Look right here. See these concentric circles I got right here? These are your annual rings. Okay, now normally with annual rings, the inner color would be a light color, indicating spring wood, and the outer color would be a darker color, indicating your summer growth, your spring growth and your summer growth. That's what I was meaning to say. And normally, if you count your annual rings, normally it's the same age of your tree. Okay, one annual ring should equal to 1 year. All right. Now, if you look right here, you see my center, the center of my tree trunk. This is called a pith. Okay. Now the pith is spongy. Okay. This is not a good area to get no structural lumber from, because of the pith is usually spongy and kind of weak. Let's continue on. These are right here. You see these lines right here moving from my pith out towards my bark. All these lines right here. These are your medullary rays. Okay, it store and transport food through the tree. Okay, so your medullary rays and your annual rings kind of create a mesh. Okay, create a mesh or a net. Okay, or a matrix. It gives your tree its rigidity. Also helps it to bend in the wind. You know, gives it flexibility. Now I want to say that when I'm talking about heartwood. Oh yeah, heartwood. Heartwood. When you picking your lumber, and you really want to get quality lumber, they got lumber where you can pick from heartwood lumber or sapwood lumber. Sapwood lumber and heartwood lumber are both equal in strength. However, heartwood lumber is more decay resistant, okay, and is used for your exterior finishes. Okay. Now, I believe I went over the majority of the portion that I wanted to go over. Okay. I'm just thinking. Okay. Well, I appreciate y'all. I hope I haven't taken up your time. I hope you learned something today. All right. So hit the like button, subscribe, become my apprentice, Temple Builder.